For these next few videos, I want to introduce an idea that gets us more used to working in a professional environment or doing what we call non-destructive editing. And this is a bit more of a professional style of editing in Photoshop that allows us to always be able to get back to the original image. And this is really helpful when you're working in a job path or a career or working on projects that you're not sure what you want to do, and there's always the opportunity to revert back, whether it's that you changed your mind or the client did or your art director did, etc. So to get started, let's go ahead and open up the file oneMeasuringSpoon.psd. And that's what I have open here. And if you take a look at this guy, it's just a simple image of a measuring spoon on a table, one layer called spoon. What I want you to do is make a selection around this spoon however you would like to. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my quick select tool, make it a little smaller with my bracket keys, and there you go, nice and easy, right? Now with this, if I wanted that spoon on its own layer, I have a couple options. So the first thing, what we've talked about in other videos, is Command J or New Layer via Copy. And now when I hide this background, I have this spoon by itself. And it's not a perfect selection, but it'll do for now. Now if I decide I want some of that background back, I could come back in here and I could grab some parts of it and then copy those to their own layer and then hide just everything but those two. This becomes a bit more problematic though. So what happens if I'm working on this spoon and I take it out of its background and then I decide, you know what, I do need that background in place. And that's where masking comes in. So the idea of masking is a little complicated to people at first. It's a simple idea, but it tends to throw people off. And it's the thought of a mask is deciding what you hide or what you show. And the way we represent that mask is with the colors black or white. So right now, if I go to my layers palette and down towards the bottom, I have this option right here, which is add layer mask. And it's a rectangle with a circle in the middle of it. If I go ahead and I click that, I'll have this second piece here. This represents my mask. First thing I want to point out that's really important is now when I select this layer, I can be on the image, and you see those little brackets in the corners, or the mask itself. And it really, really matters which one of these you're on. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the mask part. And right now the mask is entirely white. You can see the preview is entirely white. And that means I can see the entire preview. If I were to take my brush tool, so I can also shortcut and hit the letter B, get to my brush tool. And now with any size brush I want, I'll make it a little bigger. I have black as my foreground color. I'm going to paint black. So all I did was paint a streak of black there, and you don't see black. Instead, what you see is right through my image. It looks like I'm deleting it. In reality, in other videos, I may have touched on the eraser tool, or you may have experimented with the eraser tool, and I will tell you in my actual design work, I never, ever, ever, ever use the eraser. In reality, I would always do this instead. I would add a mask and erase by using my brush tool. And the reason for that is at any point, if I want to swap this color, instead of painting with black, I'm going to hit this little swap arrow. Also, here's a shortcut tip. Hit the letter X on your keyboard, and that'll swap your color from black to white. And now if I swap to painting in white, as I paint, it brings back whatever I had. I could also just fill this whole thing. I could say I want the entire thing full. And for that, there's two fill commands, Option Delete and Command Delete. On a Mac keyboard, at least, the way I find it easier to remember this is if you look here, we have foreground color and background color. And if you look at the left side of a Mac keyboard, Option key is a little further left than the Command key. Option and Delete will fill with my foreground color. Command Delete fills with my background color. And if you notice, nothing's changing on my image itself. It's all on the mask. If I were to make this mistake by clicking this layer instead and paint black, I actually get a black line. That's not on the mask. I can't undo that outside of Command Z. That would be a permanent change. All right. So a good way to get into removing areas like this would be, there's a few different ways we can do it. One of them would be this. Grab my quick select tool. I'm going to delete this mask for a second. I'm just going to grab the mask itself. Just so I can show you another way I would do this, I'm going to delete mask. Quick select, just like I did before, but now instead of the Command J option, once I have a selection made, now I'll hit Add Mask. And if I add a mask with a selection made, it makes the mask in the form of that selection. So right now, I can grab my brush tool, click on my mask, and if I click out here, I can bring stuff back. If I wanted to make that mask a little better, X, so now I'm painting with black. And I can just take out that little edge and like, oops, I slipped. Well, X again, and bring it back. Right, this is non-destructive editing. So at any point, I can bring this back and kind of always reset back to normal or reset back to the basics. I don't have to make a copy of my background layer anymore. I can work with this repeatedly. All right, so this is just a little bit of an intro to the idea of this. Over the next few videos, I'll show you a lot more about working with masks and why we have them, what the advantages are, etc. All right, so check out the next few videos to go a little bit more in depth to masking, which is, I think, probably the most important skill in Photoshop.